to my phone so I can see your comments. A bit early today. Yeah, let me just quickly check. Yep, we can see things now. I hope it's connected. I guess it is now. Anyways, guys, so as I was saying, welcome back to the channel, and I've started a series on classroom talks, and today is the second part of it where we will be discussing a very important topics, and all the students technically run around getting confused on what to decide over, what to prefer, where to start from on the basis of country, college, or course, what should be my priority. So we're going to be covering everything today itself. Okay, so a quick introduction about myself for all those who will be watching me for the first time. Hi guys, I'm Meenaal. Professionally, I'm an architect. I've done my bachelor's from Birla Institute of Technology. From there on, I moved to London, where I did MArch from A School of Architecture. I have worked in some cities in India, Dubai, as well as in London. I have given the exams myself and gotten over a band score of 7.5 in IELTS and 7.5 in IELTS UKVI. And I've been taking class for IELTS for the past 3 years now, both in India as well as in UK. So that was a brief introduction about myself. Now I'm going to start with the main topic. So all those students who tend to scratch their head over deciding on what to do, we'll be discussing that today itself. We have Saurabh here. Hi Saurabh. Seeing you too after a long time, Saurabh. How are you? Now, I remember Saurabh asking me a lot of questions in context to which college, which course, which country. So Saurabh, this class should be very productive for you. And in case you have anything additionally to ask, you can definitely ask me. And all those who are joining in, guys, you can keep introducing yourself, because this is like a talk show. You can just have as many questions as possible, and you can have non-academic questions as well. So the entire idea of bringing this classroom talk was because the moment students plan to move abroad, they have so many things popping in their head, and I had that too myself. And I used to run around my seniors, I used to run around finding people who can actually answer those questions to me. So I thought I'll just try and help as much as possible. How I am? I'm good. I'm really good actually. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, so anyway, so before starting the entire discussion, I just want to tell you first and most important things. Every time you do, if the moment you start planning moving abroad, you have to do a lot of research work. Okay, and that research work, even if you ask 10 other people, look on 10 different links, you have to have your own diary and you have to have your own research work listed down. Okay, you have to make sure that it is an intense research work. I myself had like a full one diary full of notes written with points written, points cancelled, points tick marked, right? So you have to make a diary and try and research as much as possible, right? I understand that it's going to be a tedious task, it's going to be a very time consuming task, it's going to be a very annoying task, but this is a crucial point in your life, and I'm sure you want to invest into the entire process very seriously. Okay, Now, all those who ask me country, college or course के बीच में क्या prefer करें, क्या select करें, okay? Now, I want to clarify that. Now, between country, college and course, the 3 C's, okay, the 3 C's, they all need to run parallelly. They all need to run parallelly. So when you're researching, you have to give all 3 of them equal weightage. You cannot just think about, okay, I'm planning to move to Canada and whatever I'm going to get there, I'm just going to take it. Or this is the college, I just want to take it. I'm just don't care what's happening in the country, or whatever course I get, it's fine. Or you just fall for the course, and whichever country it falls down into, I can go. No, that's not the way. You have to consider all the 3 C's at one go. You have to put them together. Your research work needs to be a lot more intense than you actually think it's going to be like. So you have to consider a lot of points, but you have to put them together. Okay, so now I'm going to be discussing 5 most important points that you'll be working around. When you'll research, you will keep all these 5 points in mind, and you'll cover all the 3 topics simultaneously. They should all go side by side together. Okay, now the first one is courses. Yes, it's a tedious job, I know, absolutely. Yes, researching about foreign universities is a very, very tedious task. It's a very time consuming task. It's a frustrating task. I'll be talking about the fees, sort of, because that's a very, very important element as well, and especially for us Indians, because our currency is really, really weak. Fees becomes a major factor, so I will discuss about it. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm going to talk about the 5 major things that you need to keep in mind while you are researching. First and most important thing that comes down to is your course. Now, which course you're selecting, you need to make sure that you are seeing what is the scope of the particular course in that particular country. ठीक है, आपको रिसर्च करना पड़ेगा, आपको आर्टिकल्स पढ़ने पड़ेंगे, आपको ये ध्यान देना पड़ेगा कि उस पर्टिकुलर कोर्स जो आप करना चाहते हो उस कंट्री में उसका स्कोप क्या है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, फॉर ऑल दोज हु आर इंटरेस्टेड इन फैशन, the Paris is the right place for you. Similarly, for design, you have New York, you have London, you have Sydney, right? Similarly, so you have to see in terms of which course आप उस कंट्री में क्या उसका इम्पोर्टेंस है, क्या उसका स्कोप है. And along with that, in terms of courses, you have to also dig down to the websites and see कि उनके credit scores कैसे होते हैं, उनकी requirements क्या होती है, उनकी eligibility criteria क्या है. I'll tell you a small example. So I did MR from UK, okay, and in that span of time, all the students who are from UK, they were not eligible to be a part of the college. Why? Because until unless you have a 5-year bachelor's degree, you cannot take part in that university. You cannot be a part of the university if you have not done 5 years bachelor's degree of architecture. So automatically all those students who were, just a second guys, yes, so all those students who were from UK, since in their course is just for 3 years for architecture, they could not be part of the MR course. They had to opt for MA and not MArch, right? So there, with slightest of the difference, you have to work it out how it works better for you. If you're fitting in the eligibility criteria, how do they mark the exams, what are the marking criteria of the exams, how do they take their exams. Like for example, in UK, there, just a second, my battery is kind of running down. Yeah, so in UK, they for my masters I had to write essays, and that became a very, very difficult point of time for me because I used to hate essays. I absolutely used to hate essays. Now writing essays was a little problematic situation for me when I went there, right? So you have to assess a lot of points before you go in terms of deciding the courses, and also in terms of specializing of each courses that you're thinking of. They differ from country to country, from college to college, so you have to be very specific about the specialization of that particular course as well, right? So that's point number 1. Now point number 2 is work opportunity. Now it is a very, very important point for all those who are planning to settle down in another country. So if you're just going there to study and come back, then there's no such trouble. But if in case you're planning to work there, you have to keep a couple of things in mind, right? Now point number 1, how many years do they actually allow you to, how many years or months do they actually allow you to work after you finish your studies. Now, for example, in UK, they just gave us 4 months, right? They just gave us 4 months to work after we finish our studies. So for example, if I finish in January, I have time till February, March, April and May, and then I have to leave the country. In case if there's a company which can actually sponsor my job, then I can stay there. Otherwise, within 4 months, I have to leave the country, right? Now, similarly, there are other countries as well which have their own norms and which have their own limitations. So you have to work it out too, right? So which country is letting you work, which country is not letting you work, how much time do they give, right? Now, for example, UK has opened its opportunities now. From 4 months, they've broadened it out to 2 years now, which is again opened up a lot of opportunities for the students. Okay? So that is one thing that you have to look for. And also, second point that you have to look for, there are a lot of countries which do not let students do part-time work when you're going there, right? And part-time work is, trust me guys, it's such a fun thing to do, right? It's a fun thing to do, and it's not our culture to do such things, but trust me, it's a very, very fun activity to do from your free time, right? So I'm sure all those who are planning to go abroad, you should definitely try working out these part-time work. It's fun, and it's also a money saving process. Yeah. So some countries do not allow, they do not give permission, they do not just, or they write it in your visas that you're not allowed to work. For example, as I was saying, in UK, we had zero number of hours to work from that particular country till the time we get a work sponsorship. Okay, so even for part-time we had 0 hours. Okay, so you have to make sure that you are checking these informations before you go. Third point, for all those who are planning to settle down in a particular country, you have to make sure कि उनका PR मिलना कितना easy है या difficult है. Now, PR means permanent residency. In some countries, for example, Australia and Canada में permanent residency मिलना बहुत आसान है. तो similarly, आपको काम करना भी वहाँ पे accommodation लेना, settle down करना a lot easier हो जाता है. But unlike that, some countries it's very difficult. For example, in UK and USA, it's really, really difficult to get a PR. Right? So if your motivation or your planning, your ambition is to settle down with a permanent residency, you have to make sure that you're preferring the correct situation. Okay? Now what's happening here? Nathan is here. Kem cho. This is what you needed? Perfect. I hope I'm answering you. If there's any additional thing, you can let me know. Sort of, what is it, -1? You are planning to go to the particular university. Okay, perfect. Guys, in case you have any additional question that is popping up in your head, you can just let me know. Okay, I hope you guys can hear me. Now, third most important point, again, as sort of was just mentioning, your budget. You have to have a clear budget in your head. You have to start thinking about the funding overall. Okay, now some colleges, if you go to these Western worlds, as you were saying, Swara was saying, US, UK, Australia, Canada, these are relatively very, very expensive in terms of fees. Especially US is very, very expensive, and it is relatively lesser in Europe and Asian colleges, right? So it's a lot cheaper than US and Canada, right? In fact, UK is also, as I was saying, the entire Europe and the Asian countries are relatively cheaper, right? So when you are researching in terms of colleges, you have to keep in mind the fees as well. Now, I had given GRE, I had given IELTS, and I had listed on all the colleges in USA, but at the end of the day, I found it really, really expensive, and the return of its investment was quite depressing. So I decided to not opt for US, right? And second thing, in your budget, you also have to consider your living expenses. Some countries are super expensive, right? For example, all the major cities in US, major cities in Canada, and major cities in European countries. For example, London, New York, Chicago, these are super expensive cities. So if you're planning to study there, you have to keep in mind the living expenses as well. And living expenses includes the accommodation, the traveling from where you stay and where you go to study or work, right? The food, the additional fun events that you're going to do, right? So they're all going to be a part of it. So you have to keep everything into consideration, right? So it's not just the fees that you put in. Sometimes the living expenses become a lot more than the fee. So you have to keep everything in mind and think about the budget simultaneously, right? So that becomes your third most important part. Now, fourth is you have to make sure when you're thinking of a city, you keep the growth, its culture and language in mind. Now, as Indians, we tend to find it a little difficult in a lot of different language countries, right? For example, there are a lot of students who want to go to Germany. I would personally say that you have to get a little used to it. I was in Berlin for 1 week and it was a nightmare for me. It was absolutely a nightmare for me because everything is written in German everywhere. The food menu is written in German, the bus logo, the detailed description is written in German. So it becomes very, very difficult and frustrating to get used to of these things. In case you are a little familiar with German and you're comfortable with the language, then it's absolutely all right. Okay, now again, the second point that you need to think about this is, for example, if you're planning to go to a country and you select on a college, you have to see what is the growth or what is a sort of a culture behind that city you're picking on, right? Because for example, if you think about UK, the entire UK is just drained in, it is confined to London. The moment you go to another part of UK, it is absolutely dull. There is literally nothing in terms of growth. It's literally zero. So every time, similarly, if you're planning to go to any particular country, you have to see what is the growth structure, what is the culture, because you are planning to live there. You are planning to live there for a beautiful period of time of your life. You just don't want to live in between the trees, isn't it? So make sure you research properly if what sort of area you're picking on, and if it's in the college. Like for example, there are so many students who study in Luton, and Luton is kind of like 1.5 hours from London. By bus, I think, yeah, by bus it's 1.5 hours, and they literally have nothing to do there. So every time they want to have like a relaxing moment, they travel at 1.5 hours and come to London, right? So similarly, there are a lot of complaints regarding this. So make sure you are researching on that city's growth, culture as well as language. It becomes a very, very critical point. Last and most important point, especially for all those people who are a little sensitive to the climate. Okay, now that is, there are so many countries that are extremely cold, right? And if you're not a person who can perform better, or if you're not a person who is very healthy and is not comfortable with very cold climate conditions, you have to be careful, right? Now, for example, it rains forever in Manchester. It is wet, it is really cold throughout the year literally. And unlike that, London is a lot more pleasant. Even though it gets cold, it's rarely wet, it's kind of a dry cold. So I definitely would like London a lot more than that. Now all those who are planning to go to Canada, it gets really cold most part of the year, right? So you have to keep these things in mind. And also in terms of demography, there are so many cities which have a lot of large population of Indians. So if you're a person who would feel comfortable with Indians being around, then you have to research on those parts as well. Even when you're planning to get your accommodation beforehand, you have to, if you prefer staying around Indians, you have to do your research work accordingly. Okay, now these were the 5 top tips that you should keep in mind while doing your research work. Yeah, now before I end the class, I'll quickly tell you about the 2 ongoing courses. That is, one is the batch course and another one is the crash course that is going parallelly. And now these are the plus courses, and to take the plus courses you have to take a subscription. So if you go to the Unacademy profile and you go to the courses and the plus courses, you're going to see a description of these courses present in my profile, and to attend my classes you'll have to take a subscription for them. and the subscription durations are listed in front of you. Depending on how much time you have, you can opt the one, but trust me, you should roughly give 2.5 to 3 months for preparing if you're actually targeting a very high and a very good band scores. Yeah, so with the present set of prices as well, if you use my referral code Fatma Meenaal, I'll be handling you personally and I'll be making sure you get your desired band. Yeah, now in case you have any additional questions or queries, you can definitely get back to me on my Telegram channel, that is Meenaal F. I'm also available on Instagram and Facebook, that's IELTS by Meenaal and IELTS Meenaal. And in case you have anything else, you can definitely let me know, because I'm open to suggestions for any topic that you want me to talk about, and I can simplify it for you. Okay, so I'll end the video now. I hope you liked the video. If you did, do like the video, do put your comments, and if there's anything additional you want to add on, you can definitely drop in the comment section and let me know what you think about it, or if you want to suggest me something. And also please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Bye bye.